Is it possible to love your kids too much? That's easy? No, it's not possible. You can love them as much as you want. Now, here's a different way to ask this question. Is it possible to praise your kids too much? It gets a little bit complicated. And I want to take some time to walk you through how too much praise will ruin the self-esteem and confidence of our kids. But most importantly, I want to give you tools on how to praise your kids so that you're contributing and investing into their future. Hey, I want to welcome you back if you're a subscriber to this channel. And if you're brand new, I want to welcome you as well. My name is Eduardo Archer, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and it's my passion to build bridges for families and for individuals so they can have life and not be bullied by their environment. So let's get into this. Can you praise your kids too much? The sad truth is yes. And I'm going to describe and explain what I mean by this. And guys, listen, I know you're listening to this and you're thinking, great, another video that's telling me how I'm not enough as a parent. And I'm going to tell you right now, I am not going there. I'm telling you, keep watching. I want to give you specific tools on how to navigate this and be effective in your parenting and in your praising of your kids. Okay, I'm going to make sure it's very practical and black and white and clear, almost intuitive by the end of our conversation. Okay, all right. So first, I want to take some time to describe the kind of parent who overdoes it and might damage their child by praising too much. You're the parent that loves your kids tremendously, and you want them to know that they are loved, that they are precious in your eyes, and you're going to do anything to preserve that internal peace that you're trying to create from them. Why? Because you want them to have something perhaps that you didn't get growing up, or something you didn't get enough of. And it's imperative that you can stand in that space and create the comfort and create the reality that they are significant, to the point where you want to stop any negativity that's coming in to disturb or to take them off track of that view of who they are. And it's important to you. So bullies, teachers that are completely unfair or causing pain or discomfort, situations, you want to get involved. And if anything, you want to let them know that you're completely there and you're going to do whatever you have to take care of them. You love your child. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that level of love, with those desires. The issue when it comes to praise is where we invest all of those intentions that we have for our kids, right? So if praise is the expression of our love, so the issue is, do I give them that love at every and any instance that presents itself, or do I learn to invest it in a way that's strategic and draws out the internal capabilities to create those realities that we want for them in themselves, to be able to create that for themselves? Okay, so what's the problem? What's the problem with praising too much? What's the problem with giving them that intensity of attention as often as I can? Well, researchers are finding a couple of things. One, they're finding that kids that are praised overwhelmingly in a certain way, they tend to be super focused on the actual results and outcome as opposed to the process and journey. When those kids fail at something, they show a real lack of persistence, a real lack of even wanting to try. They associate failure with a negative characteristic, as opposed to seeing failure as an opportunity to grow. They tend to have a very fixed mindset, in that things have to be black or white. It has to work out that way, or there is no other opportunity for success. And this isn't what we want. In fact, if we look at it, we're producing, if we praise constantly and overwhelmingly in the wrong way, we're producing the very thing that we're trying to avoid. We're creating kids that are afraid of trying, that are afraid of being counter to the things that you're praising them about. So what are the solutions, Eddie? Like, how do I begin to redirect this and do this the right way? And what I want to highlight for you, and this is, guys, this is where it's going to get very intuitive and very practical. There are two kinds of praise, right? So there is an evaluative praise, and then there's a descriptive praise, right? Evaluative and descriptive. I want to break these two down and show you how to do more of one over the other. So evaluative praise is essentially, it's the emotional praise where we're just trying to love on our kids. It's like, we're trying to just make a connection point, make an observation, and live in that moment of excitement, of joy, of love. And so when you see evaluative praise, it tends to come off very emotional, right? Very dramatic. And so it's something like, dude, you're awesome. Like, you're amazing. You are the best, oldest child I've ever had in my life. And so it's vague. It doesn't have description or anything behind it. And look, I want to say that there's nothing wrong with that. You should totally want to love on your child, but I want you to understand something. Evaluative praise is more for you than it is for the child. It's you being able to live and express and be authentic in that moment and just give them what you got, and there's nothing wrong with that. Here's the problem. If that's all we give our kids, we produce the things I just talked about a couple minutes ago, right? We produce that fear of difficulty in them because here's what our kids do. They take that good stuff, like that good input they're getting from us, and they try to calculate, how do I keep this good stuff going? Like, what do I need to do to keep getting good praise and good admiration and affirmation from my parent? And if all they're getting is the vague praise that's like, you're awesome, you're amazing, be a good boy today, you're a good boy, a good girl today, what does that mean? How do I replicate that? How do I redo that? And the only resolution to getting that again is to stay away from difficulty, to stay away from anything that might challenge the norm I've just created, that won't bring in that type of evaluative, emotional, intense praise, right? So that is why it's not enough to just resolve to just give that. We've got to bring in what's called descriptive praise, because this is what they need. So descriptive praise is not emotional. It looks more like a conversation. It looks more like a time for feedback and thoughts that are being shared. And in descriptive praise, what's actually happening is you're reviewing and highlighting things that feature values that you stand for and you want to build in your child. Right? So they are moments where you can affirm the journey that they've walked through. Not just the outcome, not just what they've done or what they've accomplished, but you can look at what it took them to get to that place. And the reason we want to do more descriptive praise is because that's trackable for our young people. They can see, oh, okay, cool. So what my parent noticed was this thing that I did. Here's an example. This was actually a moment where I was correcting one of my children. I work from home and I see and counsel from home. And one day, I think my oldest came in very loud, singing into the office. He was using the restroom in the office and just kind of made a whole bunch of noise, slammed the door, and walked out. And so when I sat down to talk to him, I decided to bring in some descriptive praise. And what I did was I shared like, hey, buddy, you remember yesterday you came into the room and you're super quiet. And I noticed how you walked and you were so aware of the fact that I was in a meeting and I was having a conversation, and you closed the bathroom door and washed your hands and then quietly walked back outside and closed the door. And I think that was like really helpful when you were so aware and so careful, in those moments when I'm having a meeting. And what that did for my son was allow him to calculate, okay, so what is it that my father is looking at and what is he interested in? And it allowed his own mind to begin to compute that. It allowed him to highlight the things that I highlight, to value the things I value. And so that's a moment of descriptive praise, right? When you can sit down and talk about the journey, talk about the process involved, not just, the outcome, and your excitement about that, but the actual conversation about what was involved to get there. So we need to give our kids more of those opportunities. And I'm going to give you 5 specific steps on what you need to do more descriptive praise, and to actually help invest and work on your kids today for their ability to think and process and take risk and grow in your values for tomorrow. So number 1, don't apologize for loving your child. You love them. Be in love with your child. You need that. And those emotional moments are as important as some of the harder moments that we walk through with our kids, right? So I am definitely not telling you to be robotic and to never just tell your child you love them for the sake of it, or how precious they are, or to be amazed by something that they've done or accomplished. You better do it, right? Make sure that that's not the end all be all though. Make sure it doesn't end there, and that you are even more intentional about being descriptive and conversational and reflective in your praise as well, which is all the next pieces that I want to talk to you about. So number 2, slow down. None of these things happen miraculously. None of us just wake up and we change our complete way of parenting and living and responding, right? Oftentimes your praise, your evaluative moments, your emotional moments is a reflex. I mean, you're in that moment and what you're seeing is amazing and you want to give them that praise. And so one of the things I want to encourage you to do is slow down in that moment. Understand that in the very beginning, you changing the flow of this isn't so much about them. It's more about you learning a new pattern and a new pace of responding. So give yourself permission to slow down and take your time when you notice these moments. All right, so number 3, pay attention to the process-oriented aspect of things as opposed to the outcome, right? So instead of looking at this beautiful piece of art that your child just created, I want you to take all of that emotion and excitement and describe what it took for them to create it and highlight the values in that process, right? So things like, hey, you had to sit down and you had this idea in your head and allowed your creativity to flow on that piece of paper. And you had all these colors in front of you, but you with confidence didn't second guess yourself. You picked the right colors. You picked the right pieces to bring it all together. And then the boldness to show us, even the vulnerability to show us what you've created. And I think that what's amazing about that are all these pieces, and then that created this great piece of artwork. And you've realized, guys, that we've now given our kids a formula on what we actually want repeated. We don't want another piece of art exactly like that. What we want is the vulnerability to come out and step out and put their stuff out there. We want them to trust themselves, to know which colors to pick. We want them to be able to live inside of the free thought of their creativity, to have something in their mind and to have the boldness to put it on a piece of paper. And those values are things that we're praising. And for that reason, they're going to repeat, not the picture, but what it took to get there. So that is the value of highlighting the process, right? As opposed to the outcome. Okay, so number 4, catch them being good. Look, I'll tell you this, so often for me as a parent, I am constantly catching my kids doing the wrong things around the house. And thank God I do. Otherwise, this house would be in pieces at this point. But perhaps it's also a great idea to look for opportunities to catch them doing the right thing. And I want you to pay attention to the things that you value, the things that you as a family want to exhibit and want to live by. So watch for those moments and catch them. Hey, I noticed you shared, right? And that's something that's super important to our family, is to give as much as we receive. Hey, I noticed that you picked up that piece of paper when you didn't have to. And that's great. It really highlights that we're taking care, respecting our property. And in those moments, what you'll be able to do is affirm things that are already inside of them and encourage that to come out even more. Number 5, allow them to notice what they're doing well. I think it's a great idea every now and then to, instead of highlighting what they've done well or giving feedback, instead of that, ask them, hey, you tell me what your thoughts are about this, and allow them to reflexively consider their value, consider their contribution, and to be able to talk about that. So many of us are not good with taking compliments, and perhaps we're not good at complimenting ourselves. This is a great opportunity to help our kids learn now for the future to give themselves compliments and to acknowledge and affirm their value in the things that they do. All right. So that's it. All right. Listen, I appreciate you all coming back and watching this. My hope is that it gives you value and it actually adds to what you're already doing so well as a parent. And for those of you who are watching for the first time, feel free to like this video and share it with other people that can use encouragement and ideas and creative tools to be even more effective. I appreciate you so much, and I thank you for being a part of this. I will see you on the next video.